Hello everyone, another Klaus here, and today we're going to review some component model from 2004 from the toy metro. So we're going to review two component models in this review. So this one may be a little long, I do not really know. I will try to do quick as I can, but I'm not, I do not really know how it lasts because there is kind of there is stuff to talk about on this two one, and I do not really want to make two different reviews. So anyway, we're gonna begin with the first one. So there is one YE and one robot, if I can say so. We're gonna see later why. So the first one is a YE. It's called the Kraawa. In fact, all the combiners from 2004, all the combiners name from 2004 begin with a K. So for example, there is the Kavinica, the Kinloka, the Kraawa, the Kralhi, the Kranua, the Kwaku. So maybe it's a private joke. I do not know, but anyway. It's all begin with a K. So this one can be made with Nyuju, Nokama, and Wenua. You can clearly see with the color scheme, which is white, of course, black, dark blue, and also some dark gray, of course. Do a little turn around. So it's a four-legged where it's also an herbivorous Y. I hope I pronounced this right, but I do not really think it's my pronunciation is that good anyway. And I'm gonna begin to explain this. So yes, maybe first of all you've got the body frame. Yeah, I will not try to destroy the way, so excuse me. I will just try to show you with that in place. So how it's made the body frame. We're gonna use two metro body frames and a metro pelvis. On top of it, as you can clearly see, we're gonna add also some shoulder armor white ears and also a second Toa metro body. So in fact, these two articulations you see, these two gears you see here cannot be activated. So this means that the arms will not move thanks to a gear. So that's not really a problem because in fact it's a more solid build than if it was, for example, if you can move. Remember, for example, the Toa Kaita from 2001, the legs can move, but it was really hard to pause. So in fact, it's not really a problem. But on the second right here, the second body frame, which is the black one, this time we're gonna have the gear which can be turned. In fact, it will activate the neck part. I'm gonna talk about this upper part later. As you can see also on the other side, you got some kind of like a tail which kind of moves, so it's kind of awkward. I think it's kind of weird. I'm not really a fan of this little moving part. Moving on for the rear legs right now, so here it is. So in fact it's just some metro metro legs, but with of course different colors, more parts. For example, this part used here, this feet, which in fact does not really block the movement and not really move in every direction. It's kind of stands still on the legs, so it's quite nice. In fact, it's there is no flaws in this type of design. That's what I want to mean. The feet are made with some Nyuju weapons and some Wenua feet also. The same for the second rear leg, if I can say so. And then you have the front one, which in fact are kind of more complicated. So here it is. You have a double connectors, and you link this with the normal connectors. With the two connectors, you can link two metro arm. This time it's Wenua color white here, but of course on the other one is Nokama because there is no four parts like this. And then we have the not with the hands itself, but this part made with some connectors and also the Wenua weapon or Wenua blade, or I do not remember this name. And in fact, this construction kind of remind me of the first Kaita type of legs, you know, with tons of different legs and connectors put together. So just look, for example, to a Kaita Nuva, or also the normal one, and also, for example, the Baroque Kaita, the first one. They got kind of this type of stuff. Also, you notice this part which move right here, so it's kind of a little, this kind of little flow. For example, this part moves, this one also kind of moves, so there are just some little flows like that, but it's not really the biggest problem of this set. So we have talked about the four legs. Hope you understand it. I will try to do it quick and fast as possible, and also I really want you to understand how it works, of course. I don't really want to be too quick or stuff like that. Also, an interesting part is the Nyuju canopy right here to cover the hole. I think it's quite nice because it's a curved surface, so it's not. It can add some curve in all this blocky, of course, really blocky and edgy body, if I can say so. And then we have the heads, which can be turned. So the neck, in fact, is made with two metro arms. Also, you also got the shoulder pads and stuff like that. And then you have the head itself, made with some connectors, some no cameras weapon, and also some metal head to make for the eyes. So it's kind of weird. You got two different colored eyes. If you ask me, I think at least there's these eyes. There's two parts, of course. There's one part. So, but the only problem, in fact, is if you don't really put this first on this part right here, as you can clearly see, will keep falling off because, in fact, they are just linked with some axle between these two parts. So I think here it's quite okay, but at first when you build it, it might really fall off like that. So it's really, I think, a weak point of the set because the head is an important part of every model, even a conveyor model. So if this parts keep falling off, it's kind of disappointing. But I think if you force it like that, for example, if you really force these two connectors, I think it withstands perfectly. As you can clearly see, this time it does not really fall. So I think it's worked pretty well on this side. But at first, when I built it, and also the first time I built these combiners in late 2006, I think it's keep falling off. So it was really disappointing. And also, of course, you have the gimmicks. So it's of course hidden by the new mass, but I can show you. You have the two. At least, in fact, you have just one gear, but it moves the two arms because they are linked together. And so when you move that, in fact, I hope it works. Yes, you can make it look up or down. In fact, it's kind of yes, you can't really turn that in every position you want. I noticed. I didn't really try this gimmick when I built this yesterday, but in fact, you can't really turn. So yeah, the gimmick is kind of poor also. It's kind of weak. It's not really a great point of design. And I think that's quite all, guys. I've talked about everything I've talked on this way, which is called the Kraawa. So if you want my opinion, I would say that the design is pretty interesting. The head is pretty nicely done, apart from this weak point when it keeps falling off. So in this review, it didn't falling off. It didn't fall off, so it's quite nice. So you see, it's possible to make it stand perfectly, but sometimes it's falling off. Also, you have just some little parts which keep moving because, of course, there's not way appropriate. Or at least what I want to do, for example, is this part is too long, so of course it's kind of forced to move and stuff like that. But apart from that, I think it's a decent model. The body frame is not really that interesting because, in fact, you just learn how to link two two-dimensional body frame, so it's okay. It's not also that interesting. I've seen better type of frame. So for me, it's an average ROI. It could have been better on some points. So I think if you build him, you may want to improve him with your own parts. For example, do two same colored type of eyes. Try to make this part really stands perfectly. Also maybe change the tail part and stuff like that. Maybe change this part on the arms. So yeah, I think it's a decent design, but maybe it needs some improvement. But of course, the designers are forced to make the combiners with the parts that were used in the original canister. So of course, they cannot make whatever they want with this combiner model. So that's why you can still try to improve it. And I think that's all for the Kraawa. So personally, I would not really recommend you to build this one. So it's up to you to decide. But I think before building this one, wait, I'll show you the other combiner model, which is totally different, and it's called the Kralhi. Kralhi, yes, Kralhi. Kralhi, wait, with my French accent. And here we go. It's totally different. It's no, it's also for leg creatures, but in fact, it's not really a creatures because it's a robot. In fact, it's a Vaki prototype made by New Power. Before the Vaki were made also by New Power, but this was his first attempt to make some low enforcers for Metro Nui. But in fact, it was revealed that they were kind of too violent, or at least when they harassed Matawan, it was discovered that the Matawan were too weak to go back at work the day after. So in fact, they were ordered to be destroyed. They were an order passed to destroy them, in fact. So they were just prototype. And also, if you want more of the story, you can read it, of course, on Biosector 01, the Kralhi page. So Kralhe. Okay, and also, yeah, this one is made with Wakama, Matao, and Onewa, of course. So the frame is made with three metal pelvis, as you can clearly see right here. So yes, of course, excuse me. Yeah, I just So you can clearly see two metro pelvis right here. So it will be useful to make two ball joints right, as you can clearly see right there. It's the same. We're gonna then link a third metro pelvis with the Vacama one right there, and also link this with the metro body frame from Vacama right here. So there is no gimmick in there. It's just useful to have some to continue the body frame, in fact. And as you can see, we're gonna need also two ball joints right here. So to make the second type of ball joint, we're gonna just use a metro arm. You can clearly see that, excuse me, see that here, a metro arm, which of course is held by some axle right here. This axle also will be useful to make the long tail, which is really simple in fact because it's just made with some double connectors and also some metro arm. And the top of the tail, if I can say, the tip of the tail is made with some Matao mask. So the body frame, in fact, is pretty interesting, in my opinion. And then we're gonna talk about the legs. They are, in fact, therefore, the four legs are exactly the same, but there are just some different colors used. Because of course, for example, there is not four parts in a one like this in the Vacama. So they are just made with two. One double connectors and one normal one. I'm gonna link this part, and then an interesting little building technique is how to link this part with the legs pretty easily. So it's really work perfect. It needs a solid build if you ask me. But of course you can't really turn this part. And I just think that I haven't shown you the articulation on the YE I've shown before. I will maybe show this in my little sum up. So anywhere you can see it can't really turn, in fact, just on this point. And it's the same for the four legs. Then you have the body, the main head part, if I can say so, put on the top of dual connectors, which is linked with a long axle and also a pin right here. Well, it works quite nice. Then you have the body itself, which is a Matao body, in fact. The head also is made with the Onewa mask, stuff like that. You can also see the gears right here. The arms are quite interesting because the shoulders are made with a metro head, so it can be interesting for mockers, I think. It's a nice building techniques to make some new interesting shoulder. Just use this part, and you will have two ball joints to link the arms. The arms are also made really simply with just all the green parts, also it can't really move. And then you have the Matao wings, blades, excuse me, not wings, but you use this as wings. And then the gimmicks, in fact, is quite interesting because you can turn him at 360 degrees, and as you can see, it doesn't block. It's really work perfectly because when you turn the body, as you can clearly see, the arms move, but they never touch, in fact, the arms, the legs, excuse me, they never touch the legs, and in fact, they never block against the legs, so it works really pretty well, and I was quite surprised when I see these gimmicks worked that well, in fact. So it's really nice. You can imagine doing some attack and stuff like that. So the head of course can turn, not really up, but maybe a little on the side. Again, these legs can really turn, but just like this. That's the only articulation. Arms also can be put in different ways, but I will advise you to just it like that to make the gimmicks work perfectly. And also you have of course the tails with tons of articulation to really make the shape you want with the tails. For example, stuff like that if I want. And I think that's quite all. So I do not really see any drawbacks on this one, maybe apart from the articulation section, because of course it's not really that well articulated on the legs and stuff like that. It's pretty, in fact, static if you ask me, apart from the gimmick, which is really nice. Also some flaws right here because you can clearly see all the shape, all the gears and stuff like that. But apart from that, I think that the building was pretty interesting with the original frame right here, and also the gimmicks, which was also pretty well. The legs also really look like solid legs, if you ask me, really robotic one. And I think that's why it's really a decent combiners, an excellent one, in fact. Not maybe the best I've ever built, but it was really a surprise when I built this one because I never built it. And yesterday I was quite surprised by the final result. So I can really advise you to build this one. And I think I'm going to do a sum up. So yes, if you want the articulation section for this one, so excuse me, of course, if I haven't showed you this before, but of course this part can turn because there is two ball joints, so but can't really turn that well. Also this part can turn, but again, this parts blocked on this one, so you can't really, in fact, you can't really move the YE in every way you want. It's still kind of limited. And of course, you got the head. You can turn manually, excuse me, or with the gears. Right here. And as you can see, no, it's just the head which is falling off. And here we go, guys. I think I've showed you everything I have to show on these two combiners. So excuse me, this review was maybe longer than the usual combiners review, but I really wanted to do the two in the same review. So by the way, my advice on this two one is build this one and maybe not this one. So personally, I really like this one. I think it's pretty original. The design is really interesting and entertaining in my opinion. The building also I think was quite entertaining. You quite learn different things, for example, like doing some interesting solid legs. Also the same works with the gimmicks and the frame, which are pretty nice if you ask me. And the color scheme also works pretty well. So I really like this model. So of course it's not really that perfect, it's not really that original or stuff like this, but it's still quite different from the other combiners I've built, and it's worked pretty well with no major flaws if you ask me. And on the other way, this one also is pretty nice, but it's still got some little flaws, and I don't really know why. It's not really that interesting for me. It's still got some little flaws. I not really like it. Some parts are not really that well designed if you ask me. There was maybe too much little axle and stuff like that which stands out on this model. So yeah, it's not really that the one I prefer, but I think you have you know this. But still, if you like the YE and stuff like that, you may want to build this one to try. So I really, of course, hope you have made also your own opinion on this two guys, and you can and you know which one you want to build or not. So that was my review on these two combiners from the Tournament 2 from 2004. So the Kraawa, which is an herbivorous YE, excuse me, and the Kralhi, which is a Vaki prototype. In fact, before the Vaki were created, there was this first attempt by Nuparu. So hope you enjoy this review, guys. If you have any question, feel free to ask them. And by the way, see you later for another Bionicle video review. Bye.